passion for spheres and polyhedra and making them out of recycled materials. So I've had a sort of like ongoing project called, rather prosaically, spheres. So I've made all sorts of different ones, from this one that's holding the palm of your hand. It's made out of 5 metres of tape measure, all woven into each other itself, right through to much bigger ones. So this is a sculpture I made in the University Quad Art College. We had a game at the end of it, how many people we could fit into it, like a million. I've also, so this is the one I did last year as well, made out of 68 bicycle wheels zipped together at a festival in Kent. And I've also done work with schools, so this was a commission for a school in Bournemouth, where I made a sort of commemorative sculpture for the 120 children that were just about to leave school, secondary school. So there's 120 different silhouettes of children here made out of machine cut out of recycled plastic. Most of my work I consider as sculpture, but other ones have sort of more functional purposes. So these are, I've made a few lights out of recycled materials. These are 60 bicycle wheel reflectors joined together. And amazingly, I thought this would be quite a sort of squashy thing, because it's only held together with little cable ties, but it's got, because it's made out of this polycarbonate material, it's actually incredibly rigid, and so it works really nicely as a sort of chandelier. One made out of plastic Coke bottles, and I had this idea a few years ago, and I sort of worked out the design of it, and then realised I had to collect 60 plastic Coke bottles, and I'm not a big drinker of Coke, so I sort of put it on the shelf, and then Coke redesigned their bottles in a way that meant I couldn't do this. So I sort of went around all the local cafes and stuff, going through their bins trying to find enough, and I still couldn't find enough. And then this waitress at a cafe that I go to quite often turned out she'd been hoarding them for me, and she came along on my birthday, gave me a great big bag. And I was like, that's the best birthday present ever, a bag of used Coke bottles. This is another one made out of 540 nylon cable ties. So there's actually, and it's the big ones that you get around the lamppost, so it's actually about this sort of size. And it gave me the worst case of RSI ever. So here I am sort of pulling all the strands together, and doing that 540 times was, got quite painful, but I think you'll agree, it makes a rather lovely lampshade. So it's been London Knowledge Lab, and I thought I'd talk a bit about the maths behind what I do. All my sculptures, as you probably guessed, are based on the Platonic solids. So you probably know them: the tetrahedron, cube, octahedron, dodecahedron, and icosahedron. I've sort of made an aesthetic choice to sort of really concentrate on the dodecahedron and icosahedron, and I was sort of analysing why that is. And I think, in our sort of society, we're surrounded by things that are rectilinear and sort of right angles, and by comparison, in contrast, dodecahedrons and with their sort of pentagons and hexagons have this sort of slightly otherworldly sort of insect quality about them. So for that sort of aesthetic reason, I've chosen to work mainly from the icosahedron and dodecahedron. And so here's a fairly simple sculpture I made out of these hats, and I originally just made it because I like the shape of these dolls' hats, sort of having this like sort of bell shape. But I realised, of course, if you leave one of them out, you can actually wear it as a hat. So this is the hat of hats. You can wear 11 hats on your head. So the more complicated ones are based on the Archimedean solids. And again, I sort of grayed out these ones because they're all based on a boring old cube and octahedron. More these ones, the ones that are based on the dodecahedron and icosahedron I've used to sort of make the patterns for my work. So here's the bicycle wheel lampshade chandelier again, and you can see it relates to the rhombic dodecahedron. You can see there's pentagons made out of the shapes here, and then there's a sort of diamond square shape there, and a triangular form there. And I suppose one of the things that really maybe explains my addiction to this thing, it's sort of like supersymmetry. It's everything. It's just the beauty of there being symmetry everywhere you look. What I didn't know until I prepared a talk last year was there was this third set of shapes called the Catalan solids, and they're the jewels of the Archimedean solids. So the corners of these relate to the faces of the Archimedean solids. So I kind of had intuited some of them just by making. So this is the triarchus icosahedron, and you can sort of see it's the triangular faces of the icosahedron broken into these sort of short, squat triangles, and I used it to make this sphere of 60 coat hangers joined together. And you can see the sort of short, squat diamond is a perfect shape for a coat hanger. What you can't really see here is the sort of three-dimensionality of this, because it looks just like a wireframe or a sort of flat pattern. And something I quite like about my work is it's one thing in 3 dimensions, and it's another when you photograph it, and so you can sort of see other sorts of symmetries when you photograph it. So I've been making. I made this when I was at art college. It's, as you can see, it's quite old. It's still got a British Rail logo on it from 1992. And again, it's kind of following the dodecahedral symmetry. But I hadn't found out about these lovely Catalan solids then, so I just sort of did the geometry sort of fairly willy-nilly and ended up with this big hole in it, which was quite nice because you could sort of see the back of the tickets. But I didn't quite know then how to make it close up, so I hadn't worked out the maths for it. So I had all this sort of sphere making was on the back burner while I worked as a graphic designer and did other things in my life. And then one day I was walking in the street and I had this thought in my mind about these train ticket spheres that I made, and I saw all these for sale signs, and a sort of light bulb went on in my head. I started thinking, I can make a sphere out of these for sale signs. And then not long after that, I thought, well, if you cut a hole in it, a bit like the hat, you can make it not just into a sphere, a pretty sphere, but something livable, like a shelter. You just cut one hole for a door, one hole for a floor, and sorted. So I also started looking at the idea of shelter, and there's nothing new under the sun. These are the East Woodland Native Americans, and they build the bark longhouses. You can see it's actually not a dome, it's sort of a lozenge shape. It will sort of extend into the distance there, but essentially it's kind of probably what I was aiming to do with sort of flattened tree bark. This is a caddisfly, and it creates its shell by sticking together bits of bark and sort of reeds and stuff from ponds. Of course, Buckminster Fuller was a sort of visionary in the sort of geodesic dome world, and here's a vision he had of Manhattan sort of protected under a giant glass bell dome. Also, geodesic domes are sort of a bit of a cliche at festivals. You always have like a stage underneath a geodesic dome. I suppose what I was looking for is sort of trying to create a new aesthetic for for geodesic domes. You know, it's all triangles, and it's sort of been done. There's only so many sort of triangular sort of combinations basically, and so I was kind of trying to think of a way of uniting the sort of rectilinear world of sort of rectangles with the sort of triangular world of geodesic domes. So the first of these shelters I made was called To Live. I like the idea that you know, you have these signs saying to live and to let. I was thinking about what you do in a house. You know, I had a baby 4 years ago, and I started thinking about all the, you know, we almost had a home birth, and you know, a house is a place where you could give birth, or you might die in a house. You might, all these things you do in a house. And one of the early ideas I had was actually making new signs with these different things you do in a house written on them. And so that came this idea of To Live. So it was one thing making these models in my sort of sat at my desk with pieces of plastic that I could easily just sort of put in two hands and lock together. But it was quite another taking these big rectangles of plastic and bolting them together. So I had to get people involved, and I quickly discovered the force of gravity. So here we are, sort of trying to desperately get it stuck together in a car park near where I live. And it took about 5 goes before we got the sort of working method for how to build it. The result was this. So this is a 2.4 metre sort of pod. Again, I was kind of looking to sort of get away from the sort of aesthetic of a dome just being a hemisphere, and so I tried making something that was almost a complete sphere, but just with two faces sort of cut out of a dodecahedron. And when I started exhibiting it as well, I just got this really nice thing that people sort of made it their own, and they sort of went into it and made a little den of it, and you know, kids would come, and also it had all sorts of peepholes around it, so kids would sort of look inside it. And another sort of lovely design feature was that the whole thing fitted into a small car. So this is the whole of that 2.4 metre dome inside a very small car. So a teacher saw my work and wanted to commission one for a school, and so I developed this mini dome. This is my daughter when she was 2, and here's this 1.2 metre dome. And again, so going back to the idea about the peepholes, one thing that was really a complete surprise when I installed this at the school was it was a really bright sunny day, and I was installing it in a relatively dark hall, and as part of the thing, they wanted it to have a white interior, so it was quite sort of non-noisy inside for the kids to go into. And I was bolting it onto the floor, and out of the corner of my eye I could see these children walking upside down. Weird. Did I imagine that? And I suddenly realised that all the little holes, and you can't really see them here, oh, there's one here, almost like a sort of camera shutter, was creating a camera obscura in the room. And so there you can see the kids looking through the little holes here, playing inside. And it's now being used as a quiet space in their school library, which is a rather nice Easter egg because it's kind of sound insulating as well. Here I am answering questions, and it's funny, the teachers kind of vetted the questions before they asked me them, and they asked me these really boring questions, and I kind of knew that they'd been sort of filtered. And so one of the girls stood up and just asked these sort of series of questions that were just like quite random, but much better questions. One of the best ones was, how can you live inside that thing? Where would you put the fridge?